Hello ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever part of the world that you're watching us from. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome to this topic, which is a continuation of a journey series that you're having under through my Kenyan eye. And as always, it has now become a custom to me to always look forward to Saturdays like today when you're doing our shoots, because the kind of feedback that I'm getting from you people that are watching these videos are very overwhelming and encouraging. Quite encouraging, because the kind of feedback you guys give me in terms of the content that I bring forth to you people gives me the morale to probably continue producing more of this content that I'm doing. And I would like to assure you that every Saturday we'll always be doing shoots on very interesting topics of extraordinary lives that have graced the planet Earth. People whom, if their stories were not told to you, probably you will never even have known that actually they once existed in this world. But today I want to deviate a little bit from the norm, because some of you gave me a challenge and I accepted the challenge. And somebody told me to probably do a research on the reason why upcountry boys are usually making it in life when they find their way in the city faster than the urban boys. And I accepted the challenge, and went and did my research, consulted friends here and there, and you were able to come up with the following findings. So ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax and enjoy this interesting conversation. And as always, feel free to send me your feedbacks either on the comment section or through any other channels that you usually use to get back to me. We'll continue the story after the break. Now, amongst all the research that I did and the findings that I found, I was basically able to realize that the distinction between the life of these two boys, the village boy and the urban boy, is purely on their upbringing. And the diversity in their bringing is what has actually given them a blueprint in their DNA that has made them to be wired differently. Their priorities are different in life. Their motivations are different. And it is because of that motivation that varies between the two is what makes the village boy to succeed in life while in the city at a faster rate as compared to the boy from the urban region. Now let's compare and contrast the life of these two people. We realize that from way back, ever since they were kids, the kind of entitlements that the two candidates have varied in various diversities. The boy raised in the village probably has had to endure every form of hardship to a point. Growing up, some of the things the urban boy complains about, when they land in the ears of the village boy, they really amuse him. And he wonders what this guy is really talking about. You find that rich kids or these urban boys, ever since the day they were kids, they've always grown up being fed with a big spoon. They've always grown up enjoying the fine things of life. Whatever they deemed a necessity, it was just a demand or a request from their parent, and it would be wished or it would be granted so. The boy from up country or the boy from the village discovered a long time ago, at a very tender age, that actually some of these things that he would have wished to have, based on probably what he used to see the other kids coming to school from the rich families could have, were not a priority to his parents because they could not afford it. So this boy has known probably what going to school without shoes looks like. He has known what surviving for 4 or 3 years in school with one pair of short trousers and school uniform per se looks like. To a point, at some point in their life, even the colors of their school uniform disappeared because it has had to be patched over the years with every piece of material that was found in their house whenever it was torn. He has known what it feels like to miss out on going on a field trip for a school function, for tours, for congresses, simply because their parent did not have the extra coin to make sure that they afforded whatever it is that was needed from school. He has known what it means to go without food. He has known what it means to lack a 3 square meal in a day. He has known what it means to settle for second class options in terms of the school selections. Because some of them, having scored extraordinarily in their primary, were not able to join the high school of their desired choice or grades, simply because their parents could not afford the fee to take them to those schools. But in these schools that they found themselves in, at times the urban boys are usually posted in similar schools. And the village boy has always had to settle for second options. First priority has always been given to urban boys. Because they come from the big city, they always know it all. On matters the trends, on matters fashion, on matters everything about how life is outside there. And the village boys, because they usually don't wish or would like to be embarrassed because of the humble background they're coming from, many a times I've had to salute and say yes to everything the town boys said. So every priority or an entitlement in their school, in terms of dating the fine chicks or the fine girls, being paraded as, flower boys in functions, being members of drama club or any other activities that probably people with that mindset from town are the ones who are desired because they are presentable, is something these village boys have had to grow up with for their entire life, knowing very well that this was what life had to serve to them. They joined the university together with these students too. the rich ones, who probably did not even merit to join the university, but because their parents could pay, they found their way to the university. While in the university, the situation was still the same. All ladies in campus always preferred dating the rich boys. Why? Because they knew how to make things happen, to organize parties. They had the money to spoil these ladies at that point. And at this point, the village boys were nothing but a taboo to be around, because they had nothing to offer. They didn't have interesting stories to tell about the big city. And this is something that even the ladies from the village, when they joined their campus, they would really want to know more about the bigger city. So they had no other ways than to cling around the boys who are coming from the big town. So this goes on and on until a point where the two graduate. One graduates on merit, probably the other one found his dubious ways to make sure he graduated by even paying other people to do his exams and things like that. Then when they graduate, the village boy has an option to make, or a choice to make, either to go back in the village and languish there because he does not have a godfather to bring him back to town, or to talk to the rich urban boys, to talk to their parents, to allow them or him to come and stay with them for some time as he tries to make ends meet. Many a times that opportunity is not granted, but for those who are privileged to have it granted, who don't go to the city to start life the hard way like majority of the village boys usually have it, some even sleeping on the streets, sleeping in very dilapidated environments. When finally they get the opportunity to come in town and stay with the rich boys in their homes, their mentality and perception changes regarding what life really looks like. And they start asking themselves very big questions. How did they survive to this point that he has graduated from school or the university, having lived a life that is totally different from the one the urban boys have lived? So at this point, he starts seeing probably the setup of the house. He sees there's a home theater, kumbe people need to listen to music. He sees a very huge television. He sees a dining table for the first time in his life. He has always known people eat on the main seats within their small living room back in the village. He sees a proper lighting system in the room compared to the lantern light and the paraffin that he used to use back in the village when he was studying in his schooling days. He starts tasting other meals and learns that actually food is much sweeter when it is spiced up with some very good spices. So his perception about life changes, and because he knows what he's running away from, which is the poverty that lives in his village and in his family, and he's the one now that, having graduated or having dropped out of school to make sure he fetched some finances to find for his family, he knows if he fails, his entire generation has failed. So very fast, he gets the wheel rolling. He starts looking for what to do in the city. He gets his hand dirty. And in a very short span, he's able to move from the place where he was hosted and to start his life somewhere within some cheap neighborhoods within the city. And because he knows the value of every coin, and having seen the lifestyle that the urban boys and their families are actually living, he desires that life. But because he knows he doesn't have the privilege like the one the town boys have, which probably they will inherit the properties their parents are having at the moment, he knows for him to have a television, he must work hard to buy it For him to have a fridge that he saw in that house, he must work hard to buy it. For him to use any appliance that was in that house, he has to toil very hard to buy it for himself. So he works hard within the town, distancing himself from the pleasures of life that the town boy is actually living as his order of the day every day. Saving every coin, investing, thinking of avenues to make money, and within a very short period of time, he is now one of the ballers within town. Yet this other boy, who grew up with a lot of entitlements, does not have that anger to own a television because he was born and found a television in their home. So it's not that much of a concern to him that actually somebody needs to be owning a television, because it's a basic right to him. He found it in the house. Every other appliance that changed the mindset of this village boy is not the same motivation that the town boy is having. His motivation is quite different. The things that motivate him is the soft ways of life. Parties, clubbing, from one club to another, from one joint to another. That is the order of the day for his life. So as the village boy is busy trying to find his way into the town boy wakes up in the morning to go and idle with his boys and do the other things that they're doing. So fast forward, after a very short period of time, when the town boy is still in his parents' home, fearing even how to step out of his home for the fear of unknown, because he's used to going outside there, doing his things, coming back and finding his food is packed. Even if his parents had already taken their supper, his is left probably in a hot pot somewhere, waiting for him to come and take it later. And the house help has actually been commanded to make sure that this gentleman, his dish is well placed in his room or wherever it is that he can access it, so that it does not cause commotion in the house when he comes back. The rich kid is keeping a tab on the progress of the rural boy who came to town and now is making it and is able to pay his bills and all that. Then he starts succumbing into depression. And what does he do? Somehow, somewhere you find of late we are having high cases of homicides that are actually occurring, where kids are killing their siblings and their parents so as to inherit the whole wealth that is left for them, because they are too lazy or too entitled or too confused to actually work for their hard-earned wealth like the ones their parents work for themselves. But sometimes it's not their fault. You find that even their parents too, the wealth that they've had, that they've raised these kids with, are generational, which they've inherited from their forefathers and their forefathers before them. So the boy from the village comes to the city, hustles for himself, make a name for himself. Now he's hustling and is the one balling in town, riding the big machines and living life now on the big spoon. And life suddenly changes. And now you find the ladies who rejected him in campus in favor of the rich boys, again right now all over in his DMs and everything, trying to pursue him. And the twist is, you wonder, why couldn't the same lady continue with the same style of dating these rich kids that they used to date in school? Now you find at this point their eyes open and they decide to rewrite the history of our African upbringing, which was, growing up in Africa, our forefathers would always educate us as young couples growing up, or aspiring couples, that let us marry the ladies of our dream, or let ladies marry the men of their dream, irregardless of putting wealth as a determinant, so that the two of them can combine efforts and grow up together and raise their finances to that which they would have aspired to have. But the ladies of today have rewritten history. They've changed that blueprint. They've changed that advice. And they're reasoning now, why take the longer route to soft life, yet there's a shortcut to having a soft life, which is already finding a ready-made husband that is already wealthy. So right now, the same ladies who rejected him all through from primary, high school and the university are now on his DM constantly, trying to remind him of their correlation or how they were schoolmates and all that, and they're now dating these other guys here. Yet the boys within town, with the entitlements that they've had all their lives, 80% of them usually end up, if not having inherited their parents' properties, then they end up being very useless members of the society. Why? Because of the entitlements they grew up with in their life. So ladies and gentlemen, you parent that is actually watching this video today, may I pose a challenge to you to always teach your children or raise them in a way where you teach them the process of achieving everything that they've desired in life, and take them away from this entitlement sort of raising kids environment. Teach them that things just don't happen because they demand them or they request them to happen. Rather, teach them that someone somewhere worked for that coin that they need to fulfill a purpose in their life. Because the reality of life now is, what if, after having pampered them that much, you do not live to see them through the academic years? Something happens to you. Either you're dead, God forbid, or in this scenario, you lose your income. People go bankrupt. You know of stories of guys who were once millionaires, and life humbled them. So for that reason, be very careful on the kind of lifestyles you're raising your kids, especially you parents who are raising their kids in the big city. Because I would like to assure you that for as long as it is day and the sun is shining, it will always be a norm that boys from the village will always get to the urban areas, make a meaning of their lives, to the detriment of the boys who have grown in those towns, who are actually supposed to be the ones who succeed very fast because they know everything about town life. So allow me to stop this conversation at this point, but feel free to leave your comment at the comment section. Let's open a discussion so that we can help upcoming parents or those who are already parents now to know how to raise their kids right in this generation where parenting skills are also lacking. Thank you very much, and please remember to subscribe on the subscription button below to always be updated up and when we raise more of these conversations. I hope this inspired you today. Keep the conversation going. Keep raising your kids right. Peace.